So just have a quick word with me now.
Hello. Worldcup.
Dass sie was Falsches abziehen. Sie müssen sich davon überzeugen, dass der Mika absolut die Kamera einsehen hat.
And for all spectators, you want to take pictures. And 2 minutes to start. Forerunner finish.
It's the 5th race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup at the 94 Winter Olympic sliding venue in Lillehammer in Norway. The first World Cup back here in over 20 years, the first for bobsleigh in nearly a quarter of a century. The 6th race of the 4-man competition is coming up. We have 19 sleds in our field on what looks like being a highly entertaining track. Hello everybody, Martin Haven alongside me, Adele Nicol, who was on the ice this morning. Adele, the perfect person to tell us what's the track like today, where are the key areas that we're going to see trouble for the four-man?
Well, Martin, the ice was very slick this morning, and these spurs, as you can see, actually go quite a long way down here, almost into corner one. Here in corner one, you just want to drive it around nicely as you're heading into corner two. Getting on nice and early into three is key. It's a double pressure, but it's not too much of a wave if you can control it. Into four now, and it's important to release early here and not take that tap on the left like I did this morning. And then you come around now into your first triple pressure corner, and you just want to control it nicely so that you enter late as possible into seven. And keeping it tidy in the labyrinth here is key for maintaining the speed as you enter 10, which is a big double pressure. And into 12, you want to cut through this first pressure and just make sure you have a nice early entrance into 13, otherwise you are going to catch a big wave. And this is probably where you're going to see some interesting lines, some potential skids and loss of time. But here you go now, round 15, and you want to cut off the last part of 16 to cut through the clock at the end.
Not too much of a cut, as Francesco Friedrich proved yesterday, and a couple of the girls proved this morning as well, or you'll roll out the final corner. Well, our start record, Brian Scheimer and crew, set it back in November 1999. Our track record set by Germany's Hans-Peter Hannighofer in December of last year in the Europa Cup race. So lots of the younger drivers have Europa Cup experience here. Very few of the senior stars have been here at all. So Brian Scheimer, Jason Dorsey, Pavle Jovanovic, the late Pavle Jovanovic, and Garrett Hines, 1999. Even older than Pierre Luder's start record on this track, so that stayed intact in the two-man, but it's a little warmer. Ice temperature hovering around -2, air is +2. It was about -3 or 4 yesterday, so these are perfect start record conditions, and I think the track record is going to get absolutely annihilated.
Yeah, this is very warm temperatures for Lillehammer. I have been here when it's been -20, and it is.
Well, that was last week, wasn't it? Yeah.
There's Big Tay.
Yeah, Big T. Well, Adam Baird, first man off for Team GB. His first Europa Cup race ever was here with Taylor Lawrence in Winterberg, rather, with Taylor Lawrence behind him. There's Mihai Pacianu, who was our commentator yesterday for the Monobob race. And Adam Baird of Great Britain makes his World Cup debut, as Adele did this morning. But he is first off, so he gets absolutely the perfect ice. And among our leaders, Francesco Friedrich, good start draw at number 4. Johannes Lochner goes off at number 11. And then yesterday's bronze medalist, Adam Amor, off at 15 out of our 19 sleds. Well, take your eyes away from the piste and let's get ready for the start. Adam Baird with Ali Kay, Jens Huller and Luca Williams, all four making their World Cup debut. This is a new young team, entirely self-funded. Adam Baird raises all the money to pay the boys, to buy the sled, to travel and everything else. So here we go, first trip down the mountain in the World Cup.
Yeah, I think it's really impressive, Martin. These boys only pushed together for the first time last week in Summerit. So the amount of work they've had to put in between then and now just to get it on the start block and get it nice and slick has been amazing to watch.
Well, Ali's been in the sport for a couple of seasons. Jens Huller at 3, only recruited last summer by British Bobsled, so didn't slide until November of last year. Luca Williams raced here in the run-up to the YOG 2020 games, and then came back to the sport in summer 22. And Adam Baird, Royal Marine Sergeant, 124.8. We'll see speeds that are getting up towards 130 by the end of the second heat when they've really got this track nailed. There you go, 133 already. That's 83 miles an hour, 50.74, a 10th off the track record.
Yeah, and this is the first time Adam has actually used this sled and the rear runners, Martin. This is a fun fact for you. He's never slid on those rear runners before. Good performance from those boys. And yeah, Luca has driven here before. He has taught me some lines.
All right. Well, as long as it's not the Francesco Friedrich driving school of final corners. There they go, done and down, one trip down. They will get a second run as well. Little skid late, and that puts a lot of pressure on the sled into the ice.
Yeah, big skid going into that corner, Martin. But he controlled it nicely out of 13, and I'm loving the boys' aeros. They've been working hard on that.
Yeah, aero looks good, sled looks absolutely first class. Just a little early to left of centre going into 14, but that's a lot of sled to control on what is the only straight in the field.
Yeah, that hammer on the entrance of 14, Martin, it'll catch you if you're a bit too early.
Yep, absolutely. So Matej Behunek of the Czech Republic, he's their only four-man driver. He's got Michal Dobes, David Dureš and Dominik Zaleski on the back. Now he and Adam Dobes both drove in the two-man yesterday. It looks as though Czech Republic may be short on push athletes, and they're not the only team who is. 5:05 getaway, so they're 1100ths quicker than the British sled who just preceded them.
Good getaway there, Martin, and not too much of a wave in 3, so he enters 4 nicely. And he speeds away.
So critical in the slow part of the track to not give away your speed, isn't it?
100%. You need to be precise at the top part of the track, and you can carry the speed down to the bottom. If you make some mistakes down the bottom, everyone usually does. So if you can keep the top part clean, then you're off to a good start.
Tail wagging the dog here. The rear runner's doing a lot of the driving.
Oh, big skid there out of 13.
Yeah, looks like he's just a whisker late with his steers. He's trying to bring the nose down a little late in most of the corners and across the line. 50.46, the first new track record of the afternoon. Won't be the last.
I think we're going to see a few track records this afternoon, Martin.
Well, there's a sweepstake going on downstairs among the workers to figure out where the track record is going to end up. I know there was some low 49s, and somebody plumped for a high 48, I think 48.9 they were looking for, and do you know what? That might not be beyond the bounds of possibility. It should be a good day for breaking records. Little late out of 6, big skid there into 7, and this is exit 13.
And he is a very young pilot still, Martin, born 1999. Makes me feel old.
Don't you start with that, for goodness sake. It's like talking to your granddad here. Whoa.
Oh, the boys are bouncing around in the back a little bit.
Late off 15. That's as late as you want to get if you don't want to Francesco Friedrich your way out of it. Mattia Variola next for Italy, with Fabio Batti back to health. He's on the sled at 2. Nicola Ceresato and Jose Obu.
I'm really impressed this season, Martin, with the athleticism of the Italian team. The crew are looking really slick.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, that was commentator's curse, wasn't it?
I think that was Nicola at 3. Foot just slipped there on the rear bunk, but he's got in, and he may not be in entirely comfortably, but he is in the sled.
Fair play to getting in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there they're all tucked in, so he's somehow got his legs around Fabio at 2. Third best speed. They're in second place at the moment, ahead of Adam Baird of Great Britain, but not keeping the space of the Czech Republic's Matej Behunek.
Still in second, only about 1800s. Third best speed here at the bottom.
Rocking and rolling a bit as well through the final couple of corners, and only 700ths ahead of Adam Baird, so there's a nice little battle shaping up there for the Brits and the Italians in that second heat. Of course, if they get a cleaner start, well, yeah, that was a 5:06 across the line anyway, but some of that velocity will have gone with all the bodies being wrestled in.
Impressive that they actually got in.
So at 2, Fabio Batti gets in, yeah, just didn't quite get his leg in. That's Nicola Ceresato.
Oh no. Wow.
And in fact, yeah, he was getting inside saddle there, wasn't he? That was very close to disaster. He was lucky, he got his backside in the sled, and that's the weight that kept him in. Not saying he's got a big backside, but the weight was in the sled, the legs were dangling out.
The
so
centre of gravity was in the right place.
have I got myself out of trouble there? I think so. Next up, Francesco Friedrich.
Right, let's see what he can produce.
Yeah. 2 wins this season, not off the podium so far. 2 wins, 2 silvers, 1 bronze. Torsten Margis, Alex Schuller and Felix Straub, who's had his first win with the crew. 4:89, brand new track record. Start record.
And that has been held since 1999, so that is fantastic.
Yep. Brian Scheimer, actually, I think Scheimer's here coaching this weekend. I know Pierre Luders is. He was probably very pleased that his start record for 2-man survived. Don't think it would have survived today. They got within 100th of it. 102.4 best speed. This is Friedrich coming down to potentially the danger zone for him, where he rolled the sled in the two-man race, cleanly out of 13.
But look at this, more than half a second up, and he is just pulling away here.
He never stops attacking, does he? 49.74. Okay, so we're already down into the 49s. I do think a 48 might be possible.
Great first run there.
89, lots of Jarvols, the 89, that's the start record. They attack the record at the start and the track record every single time they race. It's part of their agenda. They've got the start record and the track record in their first heat.
When you're at the top, Martin, I guess you've got to still aim for something, so their aim is to beat all the track records there are.
Well, it's the same with you. You know, you're looking for a PB, but you've also got the Welsh record, the British record, the Commonwealth record. All of those are targets that you're striving to achieve.
Definitely, Martin. Summer and winter sports.
Yep, and these boys are just the same. Li Chunjan, Wei Peng, Xu Zilong, who was on the two-man sled yesterday with Li, and Zhang Muyan, who's making his World Cup debut at 4.
This is probably their first time sliding here, Martin, I'm not entirely sure.
Yes, I think so. I don't think that they train here in Europe Cup. I think they did all their learning in North America, then came straight into World Cup. In fact, I think actually their brakeman Zhang, I think he raced last season, but he hasn't raced this. So again, part of the job of the coaches is to keep everybody as fit and as race ready as possible. And sometimes that means swapping the athletes around.
Fourth best start there.
Yeah, 5:09. Give your alternate a start so that if you really need him, that he has at least done a couple of races in the year.
Yeah, I agree. It's always important to get the alternate athlete in the sled, because if you're going to call upon them in time of need, you need to have had that experience racing with them prior.
And the other thing, you know, as a brake athlete, if you're permanently the alternate who just sled dogs and does one training run, then the motivation just disappears as well.
And lack of ice time, Martin, you know,
Yep.
it can be detrimental. Bit of a wave there in 13, slightly late. Takes the tap and the skid, but takes it nicely into 15.
He's making about as many mistakes as you can make. Again, little flop off 15 across the line, 5th place, 50.99. And that is behind Adam Baird of Great Britain. So Adam has got the target of trying to catch Mattia Variola. And he's got a quarter of a second advantage over Li Chunjan, so he won't necessarily be looking in his rearview mirror while he's attacking the Italians either. And this is all part of it, isn't it? Never look behind you. Always look in front. I mean, driving and every other aspect of the sport as well.
Exactly. A bit like me, actually, yesterday. My coaches were just telling me to just forget yesterday and move on. And that's what you've got to do. You can only learn from it and put it behind you.
Hardest thing in sport is to not let a disappointment drag you down and not to get too carried away by a really big result. You know, just compartmentalize it. And that, I always think that's so tough because you can't do it in real life. I don't know how athletes do it at all.
Bit of airtime there.
Yeah, one runner on the ice. It gets hard onto 14.
Well, 3 runners is maybe less friction.
Yeah. Francesco Friedrich is our runaway leader with 5 sleds down. Next up, Patrick Baumgartner of Italy, Eric Fantattini, Robert Mazzea and Lorenzo Bilotti. This has been such a standout season for Patrick Baumgartner. He's absolutely transformed his bobsleigh driving in 2-man and 4-man. Could not be more impressed with the way the team is working at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. That start there, I didn't want to jinx it, but they are really laying down performances this season right from the start in China, and I think it's really great to see because these guys are one of the first teams I remember when I joined the circuit in 2020 as a brakewoman, so it's nice to see them improving.
And we've been sort of waiting for Patrick Baumgartner to arrive because he was the 2012 Boys Bobsleigh Youth Olympic champion, and along with Benny Meyer and Rudy Rinaldi, both of whom are now retired, of course. He was always racing in World Cup, but didn't produce the results that they did. Now he is.
And look at that, crosses the line in
Yep.
second place.
50.16, so 1700s behind Francesco Friedrich, and on a mile of ice, that's not a massive margin. 4200s back, rather. He's 3/10 ahead of the next sled of Matej Behenek, but we still have a lot of front runners to come.
Yeah, 4/10 behind Friedrich, but still would have been a track record today before
Yes.
Friedrich's run.
Exactly. And again, you know, he will have done plenty of Europa Cup races here as well.
I think the technique of loading into the sled is interesting because some pilots cross their arms over and some don't. Some leave both hands on the pilot bar and jump in.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of testing going on to find out which is best.
And to a degree, some of it is personal preference. What you started doing, you kind of keep doing unless it's really dramatically bad.
It's really hard to unlearn habits as well.
Cedric Follador, Nicola Mariani, Dominic Schmidt and Greg Jones for Switzerland, the first of 3 consecutive Swiss sleds.
I was chatting to Melanie earlier today and she said that all of the Swiss team are really, really good friends. So they're all in healthy competition with each other.
Yeah.
I hear that they're actually at the moment fighting for the best crew to go to the World Championships. So let's see how they do today.
5:08 is a good getaway. Cedric Follador, a former brakeman turned driver, so is the next man up, Simon Friedrich. Just like Adele. You need that speed on the front handles, even in a 4-man. The more speed the driver puts in, the quicker the sled goes.
Yeah, I love pushing that pilot bar, Martin. It's much more of a power place to be pushing from.
4600s back, though. This is disappointing from Cedric Follador. Mattia Variola in 4th place is 9/10 back.
Big skid down 13 there, it's going to lose speed.
Matej Behunek of the Czech Republic in 3rd. He's just ahead of him by 300ths of a second, Follador. So 6900s back, but I guess now we're judging a relatively new driver against the early run of Francesco Friedrich, who's not relatively new and not untalented. So 50.43, actually probably not a bad drive.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? When someone like Friedrich goes off early, then everyone else is compared to
Yes, exactly.
him.
We're used to seeing him sort of 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere there, and so quite a few of these guys get to compete against their peers. Again, little tap away and getting thrown sideways there from 10 into 11. Now, this is getting close. Oh, nearly rolls on there. Wow. We had a couple of crashes on the final day of training in 4-man. Both Latvians, Emil Tsipoulis and Jekabs Kellender, went over. One rolled off 11. Oh, my goodness, and on to 14. That was hard as well. The other one rolled out at 13. So Francesco Friedrich and Bianca Ribbi inventing new crashes this morning. Next up, Simon Friedrich, Pascal Moser, Luca Rossi and Andreas Haas. Moser at 2. He gets in, the last to drop down. So 496, second fastest. Friedrich was always a monster brakeman, a bit like Bert Hefty in his time. Moving on to the front handles.
That is a very good getaway. Let's see if they can carry the speed down this top part.
Just 700ths behind Francesco Friedrich at the start.
Bit of a skid there. Small tap. He controls that nicely out of 10.
This is the second best run we've seen so far in terms of pace. Still second to Friedrich, but staying ahead of Patrick Baumgartner of Italy.
Lovely entrance into 16 there.
And across the line, 100th ahead of Baumgartner. This is funny, isn't it? This track has thrown up so many tight results in every heat.
That was a solid run there from Friedrich.
Yeah, it really was. So that was the Swiss Deutsch for 96. So telling the boys their start, and that was 496, just 600ths off the long time start record, so they'll be impressed with that. But again, the way weight of the foreman really pushes the rear around in some of these transitions. You just saw it again.
Yeah, and it's a harsh on-take then onto a corner like 13.
Coming off 12, absolutely crossed up. So the sled is slowing down dramatically, and then you hit the corner. Sled's going hard right, corner's going hard left. Seaman Friedrich spots the camera.
There's Chris Willie at the front.
Yeah,
of the
Chris
sled.
Willie getting a lot of ice time at the moment. Mickey Vogt with Andrea Orsinger, Alan Knuser, and Sandro Mikkel. And again, as you said, you know, among these 9 brakemen behind their drivers, the honour of being the fastest away, 5:05. So they're quicker than Follador's crew, but Friedlich's trio have the fastest getaway. Mickey Vogt still struggling with the back injury, so he's not maybe putting as much into the sled as he would like. Not in the push anyway.
Yeah, and it's about just not overdriving this top part of the track. It's about having the confidence to let the sled fly and just doing the most that you need to do to get down.
As you always say, it's not the driver who drives the most that wins, it's the driver who drives the least. You've just got to do it in the right place. Best speed. Here we go.
Oh.
Vogt 4th on the splits at the moment from the 4th fastest start. Is he going to make it into the top 3? Cross the line, 2nd place, 200s ahead of Friedlich, 300s ahead of Baumgartner.
It's going to be a close second here.
Yes, it is. And we saw that in the women's field. The top 5 quite dramatically jumbled around. Just, you know, one major error can cost you 2 or 3 places. So just in the top 5, it was all the way down the order.
Yeah, I think myself and Graco were tied going into that second heat.
Absolutely. And she dropped a couple of spots just with one big skid. And there's so much potential, you know, 16 corners, 16 opportunities to get it fractionally wrong, and that's all it takes.
Yeah. And we are talking about hundredths of a second or tenths of a second. You know, in bobsleigh we talk about a tenth being huge, but in real life it's just not.
Well, yeah, 700ths of a second is what it takes to blink your eye. So 300ths is even closer. Now then, interesting little story here. Markus Treichel with Markus Sammer and Christian Huber. Sascha Stepan not fit to go. So Anna Schenk, who braked Katy Bile, who's at the back there, is in the sled. So this is her first ever World Cup four-man start. But she has raced four-man before in Europa Cup for Italy when she was an Italian athlete. So not only is she starting a World Cup for a different nation in four-man, but she was also in the two-man this morning in the women's race.
A 5:17, and that is
great.
Fantastic. Honestly, she has impressed me. She's actually more experienced in the four-man than some of the boys in the field.
Well, she's only done one Europa Cup weekend in four-man back in Innsbruck, so she has done more women's races, both for Italy and now for Austria. She was crashed in the first heat by Katy Bile, though, second heat by Katy Bile, so let's hope that she doesn't have a four-man crash today as well. Safely out of 13, Markus Treichel. 10th at the start, driving himself towards the top half dozen. This could be top 6 at the line, not just there, but 7th place. Wolfgang Stampfer with a little round of applause. I know Katy Bile was up there at the top watching as Anna makes her World Cup debut in four-man.
She fits nicely in that number 2 position, doesn't she?
Well, Jasmine Jones, who was in here this morning, was telling me last night she is the alternate for Frank Del Duca's team as well. So if Manio Mitchell pulls a muscle in two-man, she's in the four-man, boy. You better believe it. And I'm sure nobody would be going much past Adele Nicol if they needed an alternate for the British teams either. Well, there she is on the right of your picture, on the left of the sled. This is her regular position, loading at 2. So actually, the other guys are in their normal positions and she's in her normal position. It could not have been better, but
she does have to get in from the side though, rather than the back, which is a slightly different load.
Yeah, but when she's raced at 2 before, she's been in the same position. Yeah, Christian Huber going, there you go. Mixed four-man, there's no rule against it, and they are currently lying in 7th after our first 10 of 19 sleds.
Great job.
All right, Hansi Lochner, no female push athletes on this crew. Florian Bauer, Eric Bruckert and Georg Fleischhauer. Hansi and Georg won in the two-man yesterday. 492, that's another brilliant start.
And this is Lochner's first time racing here, I believe, so incredible to come away with that win yesterday.
Yeah. And again, as with you, as with Nicky McSweeney, as with a lot of young drivers, spending a couple of weeks here really just allows you to get a proper handle on the track.
Yeah, it does, because like you said, it's not just about getting down, it's about figuring out how to handle the sled and how to drive the fast lines.
900's back, second best speed. Mickey Vogt was fastest there. He's quicker than Friedrich. He needs a track record. He's still 900's back. Second best speed. Friedrich was quicker, a little wobble at the line. He doesn't get the lead. A 10th back, 49.84. I love the way that this is going back and forth between these two. I mean, Friedrich's second run yesterday, the top was absolutely golden, and then he rolled it across the line and it righted itself to take the silver medal. But Hansi was just super smooth. There's work to do to tidy up. There again, you see big slap coming 12 to 13. Loops out down the stretch into 14. Late on, late off. There's no time to correct. The corner's over in half a second, isn't it?
It is, and sometimes if you do try and make a correction, you can actually put the sled into a worse skid, so
yep.
He's done well there. Oh, he's just dropped his helmet.
Yep, he's doing the old bobsleigh tradition of let the sled fly, and unfortunately let the helmet drop as well. Not quite as good as a mic drop. Emils Tsibulis next for Latvia, Dov Springs, Laus Kaufmanis and Chris Lindenblatt. So both Kaufmanis brothers are sliding. Laris in with Emils. And both our Latvian drivers crashed on the final day of training in four-man.
I'm sure they'll be looking forward to getting to Sigulda next week.
Well, they both crashed in their first heat. I know Emma's crashed in the first heat, Jekobsen crashed in the second heat, but they both had enough successful training runs to get into the race.
This is looking pretty tidy down here. Bit of a wave in six, but nothing crazy, and controls it really nicely.
Fourth best start, and the momentum was excellent there, up to second quickest speed. Third on the split times.
Really smooth through 10 and 11 there.
Little late flop, little skid, pulls it straight into 14. Little wavy in 15, look out, gets it under control through 16, 50.10. Third at the line, 300s ahead of Mickey Vogt, 400s ahead of Simon Friedli, 500s ahead of Patrick Baumgartner. That's the battle for bronze at the moment. 3 sleds, 500s. There are young Latvian fans down there at the bottom. Wherever you go, there's only 2 million people in Latvia because there's like 2 million abroad. Wherever you go, there are always Latvian fans.
Yeah, I actually asked the boys last week if it was one of their family members in Samaritz, and they said, no, we don't know who that guy is.
No, just a Latvian with a flag.
And, the Latvians are always so strong on the starts. They're always up there.
Yeah, always have been. So, third place for that man, Emil Tsibulis. Now, what about Sun Kai-chi of China? Ding Song, Ye Jilong, and Cheng Heng behind him. Chen was on the back of the two-man yesterday. So, as so often, you will see the two-man brakeman also being part of the four-man crew, normally in the same position between the back handles, but not always. It just depends how well they fit in the sled. And some teams shuffle guys around, change their positions to see if it is more comfortable for riding the sled.
Yeah, there's lots to think about with a four-man crew. It's all about the synergy of the team.
How you load, whether you're left-handed or right-handed sometimes makes a difference to which handle you prefer, which side you prefer to come in on. And I can remember a couple of years ago, Francesco Friedrich put Torsten Margis in at 2 because Torsten was uncomfortable at 3 with the long legs of Alex Schuller behind him. So just moving things around. These things are built for speed, not comfort, but if the athlete's in agony, that really isn't helping. 5/10 back, this is a top 10 run still. He's ahead of Marcus Treichel on the splits. Catching Matej Behenek of the Czech Republic. Is he going to get 8th at the line? He's 7th at the line. So again, tied with Cedric Follador. 200s, 300s ahead of Behenek. So we got 3 sleds covered by 300s with a dead heat for 7th. It was a good run from Sun Kai-chi.
So I think I make that 31 hundredths ahead of his teammate, and like you always say, Martin, it's going to have some in-house rivalry there.
Absolutely right. If you don't beat your teammate, you're never going to win anything.
Exactly.
As you well know.
Yeah.
Yeah, your teammate can be your best friend, but when you're on the ice, can also be a mortal enemy. And actually, you know, again, so much a part of the rivalry within the teams. And you look at Lochner and Friedrich and how they laugh with each other at the end of any race, no matter who's won. It's that synergy, you know. Nobody can ruin your race.
No, exactly.
Only you can ruin your own race. No matter what anybody else does, it's entirely down to you. So you're actually not racing each other. You're only racing yourself.
I do love that about bobsleigh. It's not like you're tackling someone on a pitch. You are in control of what you can do and no one else.
Exactly right. It's a real individual sport as a team sport.
Yeah.
I know. Makes sense
Unique.
of that. Jakobskalender, Eggers Ungars, Davs Kaufmanns and Eggers Nemeth. Our second Latvian crew. And they are second in the results as well. Just 2 top 10 finishes this season so far. 5:01 getaway though. Only 300 slower than their teammates. This is bragging rights between Davs and Laurus Kaufmanns, isn't it? Ooh, long skid there. That's going to cost them speed. 4 to 5 has been really tricky today.
A little early on to 7.
5th best start, 10th best velocity midway down. This is not going in the right direction.
Just small mistakes can really make a difference.
Yeah, timing is just not right. And again, a little late run of pressure there. The back wagging down the straight. Ooh! Lots to tidy up for Jakobskalender. 50.42, 100th ahead of Sun Kai-chi. So we now have 4 sleds covered by 400ths of a second in the battle for 7th. 4 sleds covered by, yeah, no, it is 400s, not 300. So, yeah, Kalender, Sun, Follador and Behenek covered by 400ths of a second. And again, that big drift into 13. We've seen so many sleds take it.
The sled settled nicely there. I was expecting maybe a bigger skid, but did get a little bit of airtime into 14.
Yeah, didn't quite get nudged away enough on the way in, did he? But there you go. Jakobskalender with a big battle on his hand outside the top 6. Now then, Adam Moore, brother Issam at 2. Benedict Hertel, who was on the 2-man sled the last couple of weeks, at 3. He's the man mountain with the beard there. And Rupert Schenk.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Amore's season so far.
Yeah. 3rd place in La Plan, 4th place in Innsbruck. Slightly disappointing 9th in Sandwich, but he had the real bogey of the World Championship crash in the 2-man race in Horseshoe to get off his back, which he did successfully. 4:95 start. It's another very quick getaway from this 3rd German crew.
4th best velocity at the start there. And the load can determine the velocity, can't it? Very much so.
It's not how quick you come out of the blocks, it's how you build that speed as you're getting down into turn 1.
And that's the benefit of having time to practice with the crew that you're siding with.
Speed is drifting away a little. He's working too hard on the D-rings to keep the sled on the line he wants.
Yeah, sometimes you can be overdriving, and he has the 8th best speed here at the bottom of the track.
Is he going to be in the battle with Kalender, Sun? And yes, he is. Oh no, he's not actually. He managed to pull out 1200s over Jakobskalender, so he's only 1400s behind 6th place Patrick Baumgartner, 1500s behind Friedrich, 1700s behind Vogt, 2/10 out of the medals. Now, that's a lot of ground to make up, but if he tidies up his second heat, then suddenly things are possible. Again, another young driver really liking his season so far. Those early skids and that taking the speed out of the sled then means that the lines he wants sometimes aren't quite going to work because you haven't got that speed on board.
Yeah, and he just took that double bail tap coming out of 13.
Yeah.
A little bit of a flop off of 15. The handle even comes out there.
Yeah, and there you see the violence, you know, where you've got these 4 guys bounced in the air. You might be able to deadlift them. I definitely couldn't. I'd struggle to deadlift one. Francesco Friedrich leads from Hansi Lochner and Emil Tsipoulis as we get to Romania's Mihai Tentea, when Constantin Dinescu, who made his 2-man World Cup debut yesterday, making his 4-man debut. Mihai Pacianu, who was on the mic yesterday, and Georg Jordash at 4.
Very experienced pilot.
Still so young, you know. I don't know how many decades he's been going to the Junior Worlds. He didn't this year. He didn't medal at the Junior Worlds, but a 5:10 getaway.
We seem to be at the same places as them doing some pre-season sliding, and it's nice because you end up building like a little community of smaller nations.
Yep. So much passion in Romanian bobsledding. Nice looking line so far. 14th at the start.
Ninth best speed.
Yeah, absolutely. Here he comes. Looking to try and creep ahead of Marcus Treichel, Matej Behenek into the top 10 maybe.
Just dropped to 13th best speed there. What has he got for us?
Across the line, 13th, 50.66. So that is 100th ahead of Mattia Variola. 800s ahead of Adam Baird, and in front of them, Marcus Treichel is just 400s away. So again, that's a 4-way battle where everything is possible. You could go up a ladder or down a snake just as easily here. Well, yesterday he looked just to be a little late with the steers in the 2-man, and again, I think here he's not got the timing spot on.
Yeah, a little bit of a late entrance, and you see that harsh on-take there where the sled goes up quite aggressively, and you have to do quite a lot then to turn it onto the right lines. But like you said, the more you do on the D-rings, the slower it will be.
Yeah, not sure how many Europe Cup races he's had here. Lots and lots would be my answer.
Always smiling, though.
Always smiling, yeah.
Here they are. Here's the boys.
All right, Brad Hall with Leon Greenwood, Big T, Taylor Lawrence, and Greg Cackett. One of them's healthy. Oh, well, 2 if we count Graham Richardson at the front there, the coach. Yeah, Big T manages to shrug off injury, but the rest of them, well, Leon Greenwood stepping in.
Yeah, and I'm really
Gulliver's at home, he's so croc.
Yeah, I'm really happy that Leon's getting an opportunity to race with this crew. You know, we are in a position where we have some fantastic athletes in the male squad, so when they're all fit, some of them don't get to race, but Leon is getting an opportunity here.
Yeah, sled dog all last year and has been delighted to step in. Long skid there from Brad, 5th best start.
And it has been a really long time since Brad has been here, and I'm not sure if that was just training or race, but it has been a while.
Yeah. 10th best speed, little low there maybe, from 9 to 10. 4th best speed. Well, he may not be entirely fit. Had back surgery in the summer, but Brad Hall has not forgotten how to drive a sled. 3rd best speed. He had great speed in the 2-man as well.
Yes, Brad.
3rd place, 50.04. Graham Richardson and Sean Olsen, the coaching duo.
Yeah, fantastic run there for Brad.
That was a great run.
Like you said, he may have just had spinal surgery, but he will never forget how to drive.
Yeah.
And the boys have put a solid start together there as well.
Well, 900s at the start behind Francesco Friedrich, 3/10 behind at the bottom, so out driving his start. Little skid here, but he actually got straightened up onto 13. And then the exit. Watch that right-hand front runner, barely leaves the ice on the way down into the straight, and that's a nice smooth exit. It keeps the energy in the sled driving them forward.
Great job, boys. Can't see Greg at the back. I can see him.
Well, he's
There he is.
Boy, Blue!
And this just shows you how important team cohesion is. These boys are the best of friends, and they perform well
100%.
together.
Yeah, you can't be in this and not like your teammates. You just can't. Everybody will walk away.
Yeah.
2 to go. Alexei Bodon with Bartosz Sienkiewicz, who was behind him in the two-man yesterday. They're joined by Dominik Moinski and Adrian Kaminski. In fact, it was Kaminski was on the other Polish two-man sled yesterday. Kaminski making his two-man seasonal debut. They drop in 5:21 getaway. That's a good sort of 10 to 15 start.
It's really great to see the Polish representation here. They have been grafting, and I love it. I'm glad that they get an opportunity here to show us what they've got.
Yeah, they've got men and women's bobsleigh, they've got skeleton athletes, and there's another layer of junior athletes coming up through Europa Cup as well. And, you know, we've got the same program rebuild going on with Team GB. Younger athletes coming through, as we've seen with Adam Baird and John Stambridge in the last couple of weeks, with you and Nicky McSweeney.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't just start when you see them succeeding, it starts from years back.
Yeah. Well, exactly. For every national level athlete, there's 25 club athletes that they competed against who, for one reason or other, are no longer in the sport. 51.33. So there you go, 18th place at the line for the 18th best start. There's Adam Baird in 16th place at the moment. He's got
as there
a couple of
are
sleds behind him and one still to go.
There are 19 sleds in the field, so
19.
everybody gets a second run.
Everybody will get a second run as long as all of them get in. I shouldn't even have said that, should I? Yeah, no, I know. Don't snigger, because you know it won't be you that gets the kicking.
I know.
All right, they get in neatly. And again, young crew, young driver, young athletes. This is where you build your program from. And you know, we haven't had Polish bobsledding for several seasons. And now, since 2022, returning to World Cup. Look at the articulation there.
And that's what will happen if you're really early on to 7. It is almost going to throw you up and back down again.
Yeah. Final sled in the first of 2 heats, race 6 of the BMW IBSF 4-man bobsleigh World Cup from the USA. Frank Del Duca, Man Mountain, Hakeem Abdul Sabor, Adrian Adams, who looks small in this company, is not small, and Maneo Mitchell, who was on the 2-man yesterday. Great to see Adrian Adams back in the fold as well, returning to bobsleigh for, I think, a 3rd career.
Each of these are phenomenal athletes.
15th and 14th in the 2 races they finished, but a 5:04 start. Oh, the boys are going to be pleased with that. 9th best getaway.
I've been really impressed with his consistent performances in his 2-man, so I'm really hoping for a good performance today in his 4-man.
And they're starting just 500ths off our race leader, Francesco Friedrich. And when you're that close to Friedrich's crew, you know you are killing it.
Yeah, he is really, really having a great season.
All right, lack of experience here at the track, I think, like everywhere in Europe, is going to be the downfall. Is this going to be a top 10 run for Frank Del Duca? Across the line, 13th place, 50.58. So that leaves him 400s ahead of Marcus Treichel in the battle for 13th, 14th place. 1200s out of a top 12. That, in fact, 13th right now. If he finishes there, that would be a career high in 4-man as a driver.
Yeah, and I think it's important, like you said, they don't have the experience on all of these European tracks. They are learning.
Yep.
So that is a great performance.
Well, in the same way you learn in Europe, and if you go to North America in the World Cup, then suddenly Whistler, Park City, Lake Placid are all going to be, oh, hello.
Yes.
Well, the same with these, you know. Frank has learned how to drive in North America, and then this is the first track since the season started where he's had 2 weeks in one place to really learn it. Other than that, you've got 6 runs to split between 2-man and 4-man, and the only rule is don't crash.
Yeah.
That's what you learn. That's what you learn in your first season. Don't crash. Here's how you don't crash in Altenburg. Here's how you don't crash here. At the other end of the scale of knowledge is Francesco Friedrich of Germany. Another medal added to his enormous tally yesterday, and he leads the 4-man race after the first of our 2 heats. not by much. A tenth of a second ahead of Johannes Lochner, with Brad Hall in third. But Friedrich never gives up. Brad Hall, what a good run. Again, from really late in the draw, which on this track in relatively warm conditions, probably cost him a tenth just in ice conditions. Emil Sepoulis a whisker behind him in fourth. Then you've got Sepoulis, Vogt, Friedrich, Baumgartner. That's that four-way battle just outside the medals. Then you've got Amour, Calendar, Sun, Folador, Behunek. That's the next little group. Frank Del Duca, just a tiny bit of clear air between him and Marcus Treichel and Mihai Tenter and Mattia Varioli. And Adam Baird, he's in that battle as well. He's only 1600s behind Del Duca. So much going on in the second heat. You can see all the action when we return at 14:30. That will be 13:30 Greenwich Mean Time, 08:30 Eastern. Till then, from Adele Nicol, me, Martin Haven, the IBSF TV crew, thanks for being with us. We'll see you in a little under 45 minutes.